Wisdom versus knowledge. It's something that I didn't quite understand the difference of like back then that I feel like I kind of really understand now. So what is the difference between wisdom and knowledge? And the way I see it is wisdom is born out of experience and knowledge is simply knowledge. It's simply like, oh, you know something because someone else told you. Like for instance, like someone tells you how to like pitch a baseball randomly popped into my head. And then they tell you all the knowledge. They tell you exactly how it should feel and what you should do and give you all the instructions. And theoretically, you're like, oh, wow, now I know how to pitch a baseball. But then when you actually go do it, you don't. You don't know how to do it because you don't actually have the experience. The person tried to translate their wisdom into knowledge and give it to you, but all you have is knowledge and that's it. You do not have real wisdom. So I kind of, I suppose, am translating wisdom to just experience. And it is good to think of it that way personally because I feel like lately I've been thinking a lot about like online courses because that's like where I'm headed towards, like what I'm planning on making as like a product in the future. And I really want it to be good. And I talked about this in a previous video of how I really dislike certain types of content as well as my recent experience with a course that I found to be really lacking. And I think why I dislike it so much is because the course itself and the type of content basically is, to sum it up, is content that helps you, that helps you, sort of like the people who are selling you a course about how to make money, but the only way they're making money is through that course. So they don't have a real example to go off of, like, oh, I started a business like selling shoes or something, and now I can teach you about how you might start a business selling shoes. I think the more general a course is, the worse it's going to be. Like, for instance, if it's a course about how to do well on YouTube, I don't think you can actually make a very like good course on that, to be honest, because you're selling a very general formula that might not even work for the specific niche that you want to do. So in my opinion, because I've experienced that, I've taken like I think three different courses on YouTube stuff, and they're all very general and they give good advice, but it's like you can find that stuff online. It's like just knowledge, it's pure knowledge. What would really be a good course is if someone taught you how to make a very specific course, like or channel for YouTube. Like they talk about their experiences, they give you their wisdom as much as possible. Again, it's still going to be knowledge to you, but like at the very least, they're offering more than just knowledge. To me, it's like three things that should be in an online course, which is number one, structure. You know, a lot of people say this is like, why would you buy an online course? You can find all that information for free online. And a lot of people say, because of structure. Now you save time. You just like go through the course and the knowledge is fed to you like when you need it, step by step, all that stuff. True. But I think it's the weakest reason to get a course because now that there's a lot of like good structure online for free as well. But still, it's a reason for sure. Next is wisdom. Not just knowledge, like I said, but wisdom, where people can actually teach you and tell you about their experiences. And like, although you didn't live their experiences, you can at least imagine it and you'll gain more from it compared to just pure knowledge. And I think that's a really good way to tell like if what you're being sold is actually good, is if they are offering wisdom, like their own personal stories of how they did their own business or how they like made money, not through the course itself, but like how like they're giving detailed stories and detailed like examples of how they did things, not just generic knowledge or generic steps of, you know, that anyone can copy anyone else about like these generic steps, right? You need that added layer of wisdom and experience that they're offering. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth it, in my opinion. Like anyone can copy knowledge, but people cannot copy wisdom and experience. It's you actually have to go through it yourself to receive it. And I feel like that's the core difference. And what makes because recently I've been kind of a little loose about like buying online courses and stuff. I'm like, how do I make sure I don't buy another generic online course where they're basically just giving knowledge and no real like wisdom? And this is it. This is my solution to that is like think about these things, right? Are they actually like really, really diving deep into their their field, their specific thing, like their experiences? And are they teaching their experiences or are they teaching the general stuff? Like if those two things are not, you know, aligned, then I feel like you're most likely just going to receive a whole bunch of knowledge that's like somewhat structured well, and that's it. Like, but there is one more thing about online courses. I know this is kind of, and I ended up talking more about online courses versus like wisdom and knowledge, but this is like a big example, right? Because I feel like this is the most relevant example I can come up with that deals with everything I'm doing right now in my life. And the third element that is the most important is guidance. So for an online course, it has to have really, 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 really solid guidance, I think. The structure is supposedly supposed to help with that, but I think guidance is more like the person going through each step of the way with you and providing you with their wisdom, their examples, and also like making it sort of like a follow along. So it's almost like you're doing it with them. For instance, if someone's trying to teach you about music stuff, like how to create a music piece or something, like your own original one, and their course is about creating maybe like more somber melodic pieces that are calmer, right? It's more specific, and so they can give you good instructions on like what to do. Like they can walk you through how they would create an original, and then you do it as well at the same time. Like they feed you like, oh, the thought process, the process itself, like this is what's happening in my head, and then you're like, oh, they prompt you to think about it, like what's a melody that you can discover right now that like you feel from this prompt or this like situation or this scenario, and they walk you through every step of the way, like how to actually create the original piece instead of just like making the course all about like music theory or the generic knowledge stuff around music composition, which you can learn anywhere. So that's the difference between wisdom and knowledge, in my opinion, and how to actually structure it well in a way where there's like guidance throughout and guidance to make it like a solid, I guess, a solid way of teaching, a solid way of like delivering that information where you're actually getting that wisdom and not just knowledge. But again, when it's given to you, it's like better knowledge, I guess. Like that's how I would say it. It is still wisdom, but until you do it yourself, it doesn't become wisdom for you. It's sort of like someone else's wisdom that you're experiencing, if that makes sense. And then you have to like do it yourself, and then whatever you did becomes your like wisdom now, because you would just be sharing someone else's wisdom, which is like knowledge, to someone else. If like let's say you copied their exact course, and then like if you had a student like ask you a question because you copied their exact course, you're not going to know how to answer that question very well. You're just going to like go off of their knowledge or their wisdom, like what you know about their wisdom, and like try to answer it that way. But the person who actually did all the work and went through the real experiences, they'll actually know how to handle different situations intuitively, and just like know instantly, like, oh, I've experienced all these things, I can make these connections, I actually know how to like, it's like someone who talks about like fighting techniques or something, versus someone who's like fought in many fights like 100 times or something, or thousands of times, like, and obviously the person who you would want to learn from, the person who fought 1,000 times, 1,000 like I don't know, like let's say boxing, right? They've done 1,000 boxing matches versus someone who literally just watches theory videos and knowledge videos about like how to box, right? You'd want to learn from the person who can box. So that is basically how I'm highlighting the difference and how I'm seeing the difference and how I'm using that knowledge of seeing the difference to make sure I, you know, don't purchase any, I guess, online courses or like information out there that seem too generic or don't even like consume that stuff, to be honest. Like, because once you have the knowledge, you have the knowledge. You don't have to like worry about it. But like, you don't need to. I guess it's not really. I take that back. It's more like you want to consume it from the right people. You want to consume it from the people who actually have the real wisdom and experience versus the people who are just like regurgitating information and sort of skinning it like wisdom, but it is just pure knowledge taken from elsewhere versus experience. Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. Anyways, let me know your guys' thoughts on this. I feel like it's something that, back then I always like wrestled with this debate of like what's the difference between the two. And, I feel like most people have a very similar approach to it, but I'm applying it to something very, very specific that's like on my mind all the time. And with this knowledge, I will definitely make sure I do not purchase any like bad online courses again. Yeah, yeah. And I hope that information can help you guys as well to guide you in terms of like who do you want to learn from, right? Because I feel like that's very important, like where you get your knowledge and where you get your experience from and wisdom from is very important, I think. Okay, that's enough for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Also, just to add on, as the last thing I wanted to say, I feel like the best thing to do is to seek your own wisdom, is to just, do a lot of things in life and gain wisdom. And I think that's like sort of the moral of the story, I feel. Like, don't just consume so much knowledge and feel like you're accomplished. Like, you want to gain wisdom. I think seeking wisdom is sort of the goal. I feel like I should make like a whole different video that just is titled Seek Wisdom, because that is something I feel is very, very important in life. And I feel like that's my next step. I feel like a lot of what I've been doing is just consuming knowledge. And what I feel like I need to do is seek wisdom and go out there and do more things. And the more experience I get, the more wisdom I get, and the more I can actually really help people, I feel. Yeah, that's because, despite, even without all of that, you can still share really good knowledge. Like, I believe in sharing good knowledge, right? But I feel like unless you have the wisdom to back it up, like, it's only going to be that, just good knowledge, and it's going to lack something. It's going to lack that extra oomph, that substance that I feel we need more of. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Okay, peace.